Yes, a very good afternoon once again. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV, especially our lunchtime news time. And here we come with a brief interview and part of the bulletin about something pertinent. And this time round, we'll go into the oil and gas sector. How are we doing that side? And we need to get updated today. I have a gentleman from the sector. His name is Franklin Bouguep. He's the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Director, Solid Rock Life and Business. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Give us a picture of how we are doing as far as the sector is concerned. How are we as far as oil and gas is concerned? Uganda.
As you know, in the industry, you have different stakeholders. So your question, I'll try very briefly to say where we stand according to the different stakeholders.
Yes.
I'll start first with the local companies. Right now, everything hinges on the IOCs, signing the financial investment decision. Once that is done, actually you have a lot of the work that has to happen in the construction phase to begin. On the side of the IOCs, for them, they finish with the exploration phase, so they are ready to move to the production phase. And they have
IOCs are international oil companies.
Yes, exactly. So for them, they need now to make the financial investment decision, which actually caters for all the expenditures that they need to do to move the oil from the ground, which is a production phase.
Okay.
For the government, it's just to ensure that all the agreements that were in place, actually kick off. So I would think that at this current time in the industry, everything hinges on the financial investment decision that has to be made.
Okay. So have we done all that you're talking about?
Well, no, the government, the stakeholders are waiting on the international oil companies to actually sign that document.
What has taken them long?
Well, for the IOCs, before they sign such a document, obviously they want to ensure that their investment is worth it.
They're not making.
They need a return on investment. I don't think they don't want to, because they've been here for a while. Total, Tullow, but I think that they just want to make sure that everything that the return on investment that they're expecting is met. So until that happens, and by the way, this type of agreements take into consideration a lot of other things, take into consideration the taxation, takes into consideration the expectation of local content, it takes into consideration the price of oil, the current market, takes into consideration, a lot of other things that come together. So until all that is clarified on the IOC's perspective, then I'm sure, they will sign the document.
Okay. Who has to be at the forefront between the IOCs and the government of Uganda?
Well, the president, General Museveni, defines the orientation, and the Ministry of Energy, have to implement it.
Okay.
And for that, you have a lot of.
So government takes the flag.
Yes, government, and the government needs to, because at the end of the day, the oil is Ugandan.
Definitely.
And the government represents the people, so protects the interests of the people. So the government's at the forefront. But as I mentioned, the industry is a collaborative effort of different stakeholders. So the government is at the forefront, but you also have you and I who have vested interests, in the industry. You also have, obviously, the people who are investing.
Let's have some economics at the play here
now.
Uganda, our economics and our economy.
Yes.
Here is oil.
Yes.
Do we have reasons to be excited, or there are reasons to be worried?
Generally speaking,
actually, I want you to answer me with basis on how far we have gone and with a projection to where we could go.
I think we need to be excited. One thing that I did see in the industry is perhaps the layman, okay, you and I, need to have a better understanding of the cycle so that the expectations are well managed. So as I mentioned earlier, right now we're waiting for the financial investment decision, which actually will kick in the procurement process. So for the Ugandan companies, it's kind of like the Holy Grail, because everybody has been making efforts to raise standards so that when that time comes, they can eventually deliver the services, then make some money and get better lives and help the economy. So right now, for the local companies, that is what they are waiting. That particular signature, which would trigger all the investment that we've been hearing about.
Okay.
And when that comes, yes, it will be an important boost for the economy, And I would like to say here that actually, on one side, I think the government has done a really good job in terms of protecting the interests. Some of us might think it has slowed down the process, but better safe than sorry. We have examples in other countries where, you know, a lot of agreements were signed in a rush, and eventually what they call the oil.
I was actually coming to that direction.
Yes.
What economic mistakes do you think some oil-rich countries have made that Uganda has to avoid?
Okay, I think the most important one is, first of all, protecting their own interests, and this can be financial, environmental, and etc. Let me speak a bit about the environmental interest. If you are planning, for example, to build a pipeline and you don't take into consideration all the environmental impact, you know, you end up with a big mess. Sorry about the word. A good example is Nigeria. Till today, some of the spills of oil, you know, especially in the Delta region, you know, it has created a huge environmental disaster. And actually, a big part of the civil unrest in that area is because of the environmental concerns. You know, so it is critical that, you know, a couple of things are put in place before you actually start to benefit from, you know, all the expectations. You know, and I just wanted to insist a bit on the environmental side because that is one that is very visible. Yeah. You know, that you can see very quickly.
Look at the market.
Yes.
Should we look at the region first or only? Internationally, how far can we go as far as the market is concerned?
Well, the oil always brings some very profound, you know, transformations. And it has a significant impact, you know, in the oil industry and in the industry as a whole. Yeah. And if it's not, when you look at the market, if it's not well managed, you know, it can be, there can be some disappointment. First of all, the industry is very mechanical. People might not know that. So at the construction phase, you have thousands of people that are needed. So you get a lot of employment. But once the oil starts coming out, it falls because a lot of the job is actually, you know, it has been mechanized. So if the market is not prepared to absorb that fallout, it creates a huge problem.
Who does that? Like, whose role is it to prepare the market?
Okay, so I think it's everybody's role. But on the forefront, obviously, will be the government. And I think here the government is doing really some a good job with the local content initiatives. For example, ensuring that, you know, companies meet the standard and they think beyond the oil and gas, ensuring that, you know, the layman, you know, is skilled to a certain level. So if you're skilled in construction, it doesn't mean that, you know, when the industry is at a downturn, you know, you're out of a job. It just means that, you know, the construction industry has always been existent before. It just means that your skills allow you to work in different industries and that you can think beyond that. You have specific initiatives like actually the national database for talent, the national talent database, which allows any Ugandan to be able to actually register in it, and your skills are exposed to the greater sector. You know, so such initiatives that the governments are implementing is very good. But at the end of the day, it's always about yourself. So what are you going to do? You know, it is about you also making sure that you skill yourself so that those opportunities don't come and go. Okay. But I used to say, you know, it's better that you be an unemployed educated man than an uneducated unemployed person. Because when the opportunity will come, they will take first those who are educated.
Definitely. Solid Rock Life and Business.
Yes.
Tell us briefly about...
We are a management consulting company. Here in Uganda, I'm pleased to say we are a local company because 99% of the staff, for example, are Ugandans. By the way, that 1% who is a foreigner is married to a Ugandan with Ugandan kids and thinks and speaks like a Ugandan.
So he's also Ugandan.
Yes, so we're Ugandan. We intervene in 4 main sectors: energy, oil and gas, education, energy and water and agriculture. But we're very, very big in education because we're a capacity building company and we believe in, you know, building up skill sets. So a lot of our activities, you know, hover around that. Okay. You know, for example, here in Uganda, with our partner GOPA, a German consulting company, we're implementing one of the largest capacity building program training 1,500 Ugandans into oil and gas skills. And this is sponsored by the German Development Agency.
Because I was coming to that step of asking you, what's the relationship between your work and now the oil and gas sector?
Well, so different aspects. So we intervene in training, you know, another aspect. I'm very pleased to say we are one of the leading HSC, you know, training providers in the country. We train on average about 200 Ugandans to be internationally certified in health and safety. You know, we worked in transforming some of the schools to become center of excellence.
Okay.
There's a project with the Ministry of Education funded by the World Bank that we do with the North Alberta Institute of Technology. So we are involved. But I think where we are really proud is our leadership training. So we've been, as part of our corporate social responsibility and, you know, solid work entire cost, we've trained, you know, the executive members of the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Power, executive members of the National Logistic Platform. We've trained actually a lot of senior officials from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development.
Okay.
Our CEO, Pasima Sule, she's very, very adamant to ensure that you know, leadership be the first when we speak about building capability in this country.
Again, how essential is the issue of health and safety in as far as the oil and gas sector is concerned? Because you mentioned it.
Yes.
Give us a picture.
It's fundamental. It's really fundamental. If you take, for example, the incident that happened to BP in the Gulf at the United States coast, you know, BP nearly went down under. We're talking about one of the largest oil and gas company because of a health and safety issue. One of the valves, you know, wasn't cemented well offshore, exploded, and the spill, the penalties they had to pay, it's more than 50 billion as we're speaking today.
You see, so that kind of a case in such a country that has had the sector for years and years.
It happens.
Thank you.
So you can imagine here
what would happen in Uganda. So what kind of strategies are we taking on to mitigate or handle
that TV approach? So on the government side, you know, it is to make sure that the legal framework has a very strong incentive on the health and safety. For the company side is to make sure that the safety culture is also implemented with the appropriate and very strong quality management systems. Is to make sure that you and I are aware of, you know, our environment. And
as we uphold the sector.
Exactly. And also to make sure that the operating company, the international oil companies, are accountable to their operations. If they have to dig oil, they need to make sure that it's done in a safe manner. They need to make sure that if there's spills, it's clean up, and the place, the environment restored to normal.
Okay, they're telling me we have just a second to leave.
Yes.
In just a statement. Yes. How would an ordinary Ugandan like me or yourself, are you ordinary, by the way? No, you're not.
I'm very ordinary.
How would an ordinary Ugandan tap into opportunities to do with this sector? I'm not having any training or things like that.
Well, I will say a normal Ugandan absolutely needs to develop himself and needs to have the information. You need to go out there and get the information. Okay. And you can get it in different places. You watch this show, for example, so you know there's, for example, trainings that are available. You know, you need to learn about the industry. You know, but I will say education is the key.
So that's where you find a path on how to.
Exactly, on how to do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bouguep. Franklin is the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Director, Solid Rock Life and Business. We were discussing issues to do with the oil and gas sector. If you want to tap into the opportunities there, it starts with finding information about the sector. The next step will come automatically. My name is Michael Jordan Lukumwa. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.